Hi, I'm Shane Lucas, and I'm talking about my book No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy. It is a mystery novel, and it's about a man who finds a briefcase in the desert, and with the millions of dollars in it, and it actually belongs to a drug cartel. And the book is about him trying to escape the police and other drug cartel members that are after him. And the book, its main way of dialogue speaking is through, it's mostly dialogue between characters most of the time. And sometimes it's hard to know which character is speaking. I'll just read a little bit off. What goes back of what did you want? I just wanted to visit with you a little bit, talk to you about your husband. Well, you can't come in here. You'll scare mom to death. Let me get my coat. Yes, ma'am. It goes back and forth, and there's no quotation marks to know who's talking. You just have to memorize who speaks at which part, and sometimes there can be three characters speaking at once, and it can be kind of hard to follow, but for the most part, you can understand it as long as they tell you who starts off talking and who ends up talking at the end of it.
So who are some of the characters in the book?
Some of the characters, well, the main character that follows through mostly is an ex-sheriff named Moss, who after he finds $1 million, he pretty much gives up his life, and he's on the run throughout the book. He's trying to escape. He leaves his family, he leaves his wife behind, tells her to go live with his mother. He goes from hotel to hotel, living out his life like that, trying to escape this man. His name is Sugar. He goes on a hunt to find him constantly, and every place he goes, he just seems to be one step ahead of him. There's also the group of sheriffs. One of the sheriffs' name is Bell, and he's been working in the sheriff force in this old country for a long time, and he has a couple of new people, and then he says how it's harder to be a sheriff because things are getting dangerous with every people are getting more unexpectable, and you never really know in this line of work what can happen.
All right, so what's the theme in the book? What do you think a theme of the book is?
Well, I think the main theme of this book, it's kind of hard. Sometimes it's kind of hard to follow. Is there an overarching theme in the book? But I'd say it's about what would you? Is money really worth? Not really living a full life. He's living a life only from each place he gets to. He has all this money, but he's constantly living in fear that someone's going to kill him every time he sleeps. He can't sleep. He sleeps with a shotgun in his arms every night at a hotel. So it gets crazy.
All right, so what do you think the overall tone of the book is?
I think the tone is really it can get really dark at times. It talks about it goes into big detail on when they have weapons and stuff. They talk about every component of the weapon. They talk about if there's a dead body. They go into the big descriptions about that, and it can be a really dark tone for most of this book. Is just grim, and it kind of feels like there's no hope for the character at most times during this.
We only got 3 minutes. One. So, what are some of the conflicts in the book?
One of the main conflicts there's just multiple conflicts with our main character. With everyone's trying to get after him. Him and the drug cartel. This man named Sugar, he knows nothing about, is trying to get after him, and he almost kills him a bunch of times in this book, but he never really does. And also between him and the sheriffs in the county who know him from when he used to work at the department. And every chapter, every part, almost chapter of the book, starts off with a segment of the sheriff, what is his name? Bell. He goes and talks about how what he's learned in his line of work for all these years, how things keep changing, how he can't keep up with the times of this line of work, just keeps getting dangerous and dangerous for him.
So what was the most memorable part of the book, and why did you choose it?
Well, I chose this book because I'm aware of the movie that was around it. I'd never actually seen the movie, but I've heard about it, and I was like, I'll read the book before I watch the movie. And the most memorable scene from this book was when Sugar catches up to Moss, and he's in his hotel room Moss is hiding under the bed, and he walks in. He can't tell who it is, but he's pretty sure it's the man that keeps trying to kill him. And he goes through like the details of him turning on the lights, and he's just waiting under there. And he waits until he leaves to pull a gun on him, but he doesn't shoot him. He just holds the gun on him and walks away, telling him not to move. Right when he gets outside, he's already being shot at by these people, these drug cartel members, and he's getting beaten up. He's getting shot. He's getting hurt. He's barely holding it together. He's like trying to tape up all of his wounds and everything, and you don't know if he's gonna die the next. He doesn't know what is gonna happen to him at all.
So would you say this is like a fast-paced book, or?
I'd say it's very high-speed, high-action book for the most part, because, like I said before, it's him going from place to place. Every hotel, he gets multiple hotel rooms at one point just to make sure that no one's following him to his hotel rooms. He hides things in his hotel room. He hides the money. He hides the weapons that he buys at the store. He has all this money, but yet he still is constantly living in fear. That's why I'd say it's a very high, it's a very high tension book. It's very, every moment you don't know what's going to happen to him. And I think that's what this book lives for, is those moments, those small moments, as what's going to happen to him or not. And yeah, I'd say it's a short book, but it's also very fast in its delivery of information and how it gets it to you. Especially with the dialogue, like I've said, it's its main way of describing events and what characters are like how you know about what you learn about the characters is through what they say in the book and the descriptions that it gives. It doesn't really give descriptions of our characters, it just gives them lines to say, and then that's how you learn about them.
So do you think the book had enough detail, or do you think it needed more?
I'd say it had just enough detail. It's short and sweet and to the point for the most part, because in between the dialogue it gives descriptions of the sceneries and stuff. It describes the desert that he's in. He's in a very a dry climate and everything. It'll go into detail of the creatures, the environment, and when he gets it goes into big detail about a lot of the weapons that they even use, and I think it has enough detail to just give you a decent picture of what our character is going through and where he lives and what he's been through, and it describes every minor thing that happens to him, even everything that hurts him, all the cuts that he gets, all the wounds that he gets throughout the book. It'll go into detail about that, and it's just him trying to keep it together in this life that he kind of chose, yet he didn't know what he was getting himself into when he did this. And I think, yeah, like I said, there's enough detail to convey the emotions of our main character, what troubles he's going through. He gave up his family, he gave up whatever past he had to live this life that he has wealth, yet he doesn't have freedom to go wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. He can't really live a regular life anymore.
So what's your overall opinion of the book?
I think this is a really good book, especially for people that are like a short book with a lot of action, a lot of stimulation in it that'll give you everything that you need in a, not really an action book almost, but it's almost like I said, it's a mystery book. It's he's constantly questioning what's going on, and I would recommend this book to people that don't really like to read long books, don't like to read books that are just go on and on. This book gets right to the point with its messages, with what it wants to say about the characters and the environments and his experiences. I think this book is, I'd say, I like this book overall. It's probably one of my, at least in my top 5 favorite books I've read. I'll definitely check out the movie that goes with this book, because I think it would convert well to a film, almost, with all of the dialogue that it goes through and all of the descriptions of the scenery. I think it'd be pretty easy to get a good movie that's true to the book, as well as keeping a good something that the audience would also like. And I think people who like this book would probably like the movie as well.